Some people spend their entire lives looking for answers, but some people do something even stranger. Even after finding the answer, they pause and ask themselves, how did I reach this conclusion? Most people believe intelligence means thinking fast, giving the right answers, or solving difficult problems. But psychology points to a different kind of intelligence, a capacity that doesn't understand the outside world, but understands your own mind. And if you have it, you may have never called it a talent. You may have called it a habit, or sometimes a burden. Today, we're going to talk about metacognitive IQ, a mental ability that is less connected to what you think and more connected to how deeply you can observe your own thinking. Here are 10 signs you have it. Sign 1. You are the first to doubt your own conclusions. If someone asks your opinion on something, your first thought is often not the answer. Your first thought is, why am I thinking this? This is not a lack of confidence. This is a habit of examining your own mental models. Cognitive psychology tells us that people who continuously check the quality of their thoughts make better decisions over time because they catch their own mistakes early. Sign 2. You can sense the mood of your own mind. Has it ever happened that in the middle of an argument, you suddenly realized, maybe I'm angry right now, and that's why my thinking has shifted? Or, before making a decision, you said to yourself, I'm tired right now. This isn't the right time to decide. Most people only see their thoughts. You also see the mental state that gave birth to those thoughts. Sign 3. You prefer good questions over certain answers. Some people immediately answer everything, but your mind often generates one more question, because for you, understanding matters more than appearing right. That's why conversations often end, but your thinking starts right from there. Think about this for a moment. When was the last time you changed an opinion simply because new evidence appeared? And if doing that feels natural to you, perhaps you are already using the mental process that most people never even think about. Sign 4. You perform a post-mortem on your own mistakes. After a mistake, your attention doesn't just go to the outcome. You run the entire process again. I had assumed this, but why? Why did I ignore that signal? This isn't self-blame. This is understanding the operating system of your own mind. Sign 5. You can clearly see the limits of your own knowledge. Research repeatedly shows that many people overestimate their understanding of reality. But if you often feel, I still need to learn more about this subject, that may not be a weakness. That may be a sign of your mental accuracy. Recognizing your own ignorance is itself a form of knowledge. Sign 6. You observe yourself even during conversations. Someone asks you a question, you're giving the answer, but at that very same moment, one part of your mind is quietly watching. Am I speaking clearly? Am I just trying to prove my point? Or do I genuinely want to explain? It's almost as if your mind has become its own audience. Sign 7. You look for patterns, not just events. When an experience ends, you don't just remember what happened. You want to understand why it keeps happening. Your attention goes less to the event and more to the system hidden behind it. That's why you recognize repeatedly occurring patterns in people's behavior, relationships, and your own decisions. Sign 8. You don't treat your own identity as the final truth. Most people say, this is just who I am. But your mind asks, was I always like this? Or did circumstances make me this way? In psychology, identity is not considered a fixed thing, but a continuously changing process. If you see yourself as an evolving story, that is a clear sign of metacognitive thinking. Sign 9. You are not afraid to change your mind. For many people, changing an opinion feels like losing, but for you, it is proof of learning. When better information arrives, letting go of old thinking matters more to you than protecting your ego. It isn't easy, but for you, it is necessary. Sign 10. For you, thinking is not just a tool for solving problems, but a means of self-understanding. When you are alone, your mind doesn't just make plans for the future. It looks for connections between your experiences, emotions, decisions, and reactions. That's why people sometimes call you someone who thinks too much, when in reality, your mind is simply trying to understand its own processes. But here is something important. Having metacognitive IQ doesn't mean you will always be right. In fact, sometimes the opposite is true. Because a person who continuously examines their own thinking can feel more uncertain than others. In a world of fast decisions, this can look like hesitation. But psychology tells us that recognizing your own uncertainty is often the beginning of making better decisions. And this also doesn't mean that people who make intuitive decisions are less intelligent. Intuition, experience, and fast decisions are also remarkable abilities of the human brain. These are simply two different ways of thinking. One reads the outside world quickly. The other first reads its own mind. So if you saw a glimpse of yourself in these 10 signs, perhaps you simply have a mind that doesn't stop when it finds an answer, but instead asks, how did this answer reach my mind? And perhaps in today's fast, noise-filled world, that question may be far more valuable than any ready-made answer.